Gaming has evolved far beyond entertainment. It's now shaping how people learn, trade, and build real-world skills. Today we're joined by Laurent Da Dalto, CEO of Mimbus, a company leading the way in simulation-based training for skilled trades. From virtual welding to immersive learning environments, Laurent is helping redefine how people in the next generation are preparing for careers in the real world. Welcome to Skilled Nation, where hard work meets real opportunity. From welding and electrical to HVAC and the trades that keep this country running, this is where skills turn into careers. Skilled Nation is sponsored by Tulsa Welding School. It's a way of life, a badge of honor. This is a fascinating topic. Laurent, welcome to Skilled Nation.
I'm so happy to be here with you today.
This is a brand new topic to me. I'm going to admit that I know nothing about it, so the audience is going to take a learning journey along with me. So before we talk about the technology and the training, I got to hear your story. How did you get to this place where you're now doing immersive learning and simulations?
Well, I'm a geek by trade, I would say. So when I was 10 or 11, I started buying just newspaper where there was code on it, and I was writing code I never understood at that time. As you can hear with my accent, I'm coming from France, so there was limited content at that time, and the computer was really basic and limited also. So I learned how to program by myself. I was really addicted and really a geek. And I did all my study through that. Until I was unable to, they kicked me out of school. They told me, now you need to stop studying, you need to work. So I get a PhD in computer graphics and beginning of what we call VR. And then I went for jobs, and mainly it was game industry. So I worked for video game. And then I moved to the serious kind of video game, which is what we're talking today. It's kind of immersive world for industry, and that turns lately into immersive world for skilled trades education.
So there had to be a moment when you understood that while most people are accessing games as pleasure, it's a diversion, it's fun, it's playing a game, and you said this is more than entertainment. This could be a really powerful learning tool. When did that click? What was the kind of the nascent story of how you put two and two together there?
Yeah, that's interesting. That doesn't come by itself, I would say. And I was at that time, we're talking about early 2000 or even last century. For me, training with VR was more for advanced solution, like flight simulator, like military people. It was very expensive at that time, quite complicated to set up. So I didn't see the solution by myself. Then I bumped into someone, a guy that was a teacher, an engineer in education, and he was focused on welding. And he was near retirement, so that's to say it's not a matter of age. But he told me, I saw my grandchild playing with the Nintendo, and they developed a skill. They are very skilled at that. And so, can you do something for me, for my welder? Can you use your technology to teach welders on how to manipulate the welding tool and be efficient? And initially, I was kind of, not taking him seriously. I was thinking it was so funny to think that way, but that will never work. They are too far away, those kind of people, from the technology. So we did the project because we get funded for that. So we did the project, and that's when I released the product. The first time we did a trade show, we did a show, we demonstrate the product, that I understood how big the demand was, or it was urgent to find a better way to train and efficiently, and that technology is a gift for this kind of people.
And so would you consider that to be when Mimbus was launched? Was that the beginning of it?
So not really. I worked in a company at that time, and I did this welding simulator in that company. So I'm talking about 2004. The release of the product was 2004. It was invented in 2000. That was the first time a welding simulator was deployed on the market. And I created the company in 2011 because that was kind of funny, but the company I was working with was not really into that, not really convinced that would be a solution. So they let me go. They said, okay, you want to play with this tool? Go. They gave me the welding simulator and they create the company based on that. And I then create more and more content covering more and more skill traits with VR since today.
So I've been involved with like taken, trainings and like these LMS, the learning management system. You do modules and you take little tests. I'm trying to understand how this works and how do you get the tactile part of this. So I know that having watched gamers, I'm not a big gamer myself, but they seem to be incredibly precise with targeting, the dexterity. How does that translate, that timing and precision from a gaming environment? How does that translate into learning a real world tactile skill?
The question of tactile is a good question because you have usually a feeling, especially for skill traits, you have a lot of connection with material, whatever is around you. So this tactile feedback is essential. Of course, when you're talking about pure VR, you're thinking about a VR headset with just joysticks or something like that can vibrate. So you can have a sense of feedback, but it's limited. So we're using kind of trick. What we can do, what we can guarantee that we are able to track your head and your hand anytime. So that's something that's usually not possible in reality. Like thinking about a welder again, usually when a welder weld, it's very difficult to stay beside and check the position of his hand because it's dangerous and all that things. With VR, you can do that at any time. Every quarter of a second, you get the position of the hand and the head. But then for the feedback, the hands-on things, we're using tricks, and it can be visual tricks, it can be sound tricks, but I can make you feel like you are touching things. Your brain is tricked in a way. As an example, if you playing game, you in VR, you will move from place to place, but if there's a wall beside you, you don't have except if you want to trick it, but you will stay on that side. You don't have the tendency to go over that wall. So it's a way for us to make you feel this sensation of contact. We're using the kind of the same feature to make you feel that you're touching material, that you go too far away, that you need to maintain a position and all that things.
So we're talking to Laurent Da Dalto. He's the CEO of Mimbus, and they're really breaking some really cool ground in training in essentially virtual environments, it sounds like. And Laurent, you mentioned like little vibrations. I know when you drive a newer car now and you do a little lane departure and it gives you, I think they call those haptics, the little like vibration. Are you using those kinds of tricks as well to trick the brain into this really being a real environment?
Exactly the same kind of trick. I can mention one of my best experience that we create a few years ago is stone masonry. So you're just using headset and two joysticks, and we pretending that we are able to make you feel the strength and the tiredness of a stone, of carving a stone. So basically, you have to hit the stone with a hammer and your tool, and the orientation of the tool and the frequency of the heat of the hammer is really important. But you have nothing. And even if you see me doing that in VR, I would be doing something like that, which is completely not aligned with the real position. But the brain will correct that, and the brain will align with reality afterwards when you get out of this VR experience. And the fact that we're adding vibration, we're adding the sensation of smoke, the sensation of the tiredness of the heat, make your brain feel you tired and tells you it's tiring. So it really works like that. It creates some fake sensation.
Now, this is fascinating because you said if an instructor were to try to get the angle on a weld, say, it could put them in a danger zone where they could be getting some overspill or overshoot. And whereas virtually, you can be in any position and observe any part of the weld occurring or masonry or anything else. So it seems to me that as soon as you're talking about putting somebody on a physical site with real materials, uh, with real risks, you're incurring that risk. You're incurring those costs of the materials to have somebody practice on, and they might mess it up. So, how does doing this in a virtual reality it would seem the payback for the companies and the industries is that you eliminate that risk and you eliminate those costs?
Yeah, the danger, well, the risk is there's lots of things around security, and safety is really the main, probably today, one of the main trigger that make a company or training center move to the VR world. We have safety on construction site, we have safety on manufacturing everywhere. And as you said, it's really complicated to teach someone that risk. You can show video, you can put some signs, but you can't make someone live that risk because of course it's too dangerous. So that's exactly what we're doing in VR. We just sometimes we don't identify the risk. We just let newcomer go on a construction site and walk and maybe go behind a truck and the truck went back too late, but you hear it. You see that area was designated to be dangerous, so you should not be here. And next time you will remember, because one thing that is essential to remember is that in VR, your concentration is 5 times higher than in reality. So that means the retention of the information is also 5 times higher. I can tell you, if I let you do something today, in 2 weeks, you will remember and you will tell me what you did in VR. So it's really about that. It's really about securing by experiencing the danger, securing the life of workers, and for the company also improving the production, the quality of production, and the image of the workers.
So there's a greater tolerance for experiencing the consequences of that risk taking because no lives are in danger. You're in a simulated environment. That's fascinating. What is the objection of students, and how do you overcome it? I mean, do they ever think that this can't possibly train me for having the tools in my hand on a site with a physical piece of material in front of me? And how do you overcome that? Do you find that over the course of training, they become convinced that this is applicable, that this actually is increasing their skill?
Yes, for students, it's quite easy to convince because usually they are newcomers, and when they are young, they are very sensitive to this technology because, as you said, it's game technology. So for them, they even approach that as a game, and it's exactly like you thinking about any kind of game. I don't know, or Assassin's Creed, for instance. If you do 100% on Assassin's Creed, you end the game. You're very happy. You achieve that game. If you do 100% on our solution, you just get a skill to get a job. So and they don't. It's seamless for them. They don't think like that. What they when I mean they will understand how good that was and how efficient that was for them when they will move to the real job, because they will feel more confident, less afraid by the real things like the heat, the I don't know, the spaces in general, and they will find their mark, their way, their visual guides, and all that things easily. So it's more for the student. It's really seamless, and it's more a way to make that easier for them. It's probably more complicated for the instructor.
So how does this look like? How are people deploying this right now? How are people taking the Mimbus technology? Is this happening more at companies? Is it happening more in training centers, schools? Tell me how it's being used.
We are really focused on schools, so vocational schools, training center, CTE program, and it starts very early. So it can be middle school and high school that get the content for career exploration. So mostly attract kids to that kind of job. That's a big topic today because we're still in a world where parents, where even teachers sometimes tells the kids, oh, you should do through the academic pathway and that's the best way. You should be, an engineer and whatever. The problem is like, like from the beginning of the world, but several of us are more tactile, are more hands-on people. And today, if you end up as a welder, usually it's just because you failed in the academic way. So you still have this, this bad in your mouth. So that's what we train also to fight against. So we're deploying that in middle school and high school with basic example of the content we have, the in-depth content we have for training, where the kids can play, detect talent, and probably get a passion for a job and move to that job. So that's really really essential. We really focus on school, and we are one of the few company in this area. Most of the VR content provider, they are focusing on the industry because big industry player, they're also training their own worker inside, and it's something easier to reach because they usually have more funding for that. It's quicker. It's really applied to a job. I'm not. I mean, I don't think we should go that way, even if it's the easy way. But I don't think the company should concentrate on training. The company should concentrate on production and share the training with a training center with teacher and instructor that will be skilled for that. So that's why we are really focused on school at Mimbus.
Makes sense. We are talking to the CEO of Mimbus, Laurent Da Dalto, and I have kids. They love the gaming. It's a little bit of a generational disconnect because I was not a big gamer, but I imagine that the wide end of the funnel for you, right, is gaming, and for people who are really skilled gamers who've been doing this since they were kids, how much of that gaming skill set is transferable, and how big a magnet is that to draw people into skilled trades training?
That's a good question. Well, definitely, if someone is game addict, is great gamer, is good at gaming, and I have kids too that are gamers, and so definitely they are quick to learn and to move around in our world, and so they will do the same game, but it's just a serious game. Let's say it's a game to build house, or it's a game for manufacturing. That doesn't mean that they will be probably attracted more than other. It just really depends on the context and on the world where they will be. But that's sometimes funny. We had a discussion with kids that was really like that, and they get out of the headset and say, "Oh, that was so fun to unplug this outlet and wire it. But can we really get a job and get paid for that? Because it's just funny for me, so I can do that for fun." So that's the kind of thing that usually raise a trigger for them.
Do you gamify it? Are there like points and rewards? Do you build any kind of that game structure into the skills?
Of course, you have to. It's exactly the same techniques. You have game design, you have a level design. So that means that there's a progression in the training. So when you are a beginner, you have a lot of visual cues, a lot of information. Let's say the VR will drive your hand to do the proper motion in a way. Then you are moving to like advanced mode, and you will get less and less information until the expert mode, where you have no information at all, no visual cue. You need to find your way and do that properly. And that's interesting because, like for the game, you can have people that claim they are experts. So you're thinking about recruitment, staffing, that say, "Oh, I'm a welder since 10 years, so I know exactly how to weld." and it's dangerous for you to let them try the real machine, or it can cost more. So you just, use the VR headset and ask him, okay, show me, and the system will track, and it works that way also. If he's good in real life, he should be good also in VR, assuming he will get used with the VR world. So it may take one or two try, but then it will be quickly efficient. So that's really something that is easy to track and detect with VR.
So, Laurent, as the CEO, you have this, I imagine, large and growing data set of people who have experienced your training, various kinds of training. What's the data showing about how applicable this is and the amount of retention? You mentioned earlier 5 times more retention from a virtual experience than a real world experience. Tell me about some of what the data is showing about this kind of training technique.
Yeah, and it's very depend on the trades also. There's a, or let's say today it's no more a question of is it efficient or not. I mean, it has been used and tested worldwide. We're selling and we deploy the solution in Asia, in Africa, in Europe, in the US, and in America, of course, in emerging country and in developed country. Of course, the topic is different because in emerging country they need to train people to make the country grow. In our industrialized country, it's more about finding the proper workforce and local workforce. We are in a situation today where a lot of country try to produce locally, so it's a big topic. So we know and we demonstrated that it has an added value. Then, depending on the trade, the value can be more than for others. I would say, when you can do most of the job in VR, I'm thinking about spray painting, for instance. That is really something where you're not touching the material, just a little bit remote, and you have a precise motion to master. This kind of trade can be 90% done in VR. So you can imagine how much you're saving in terms of raw material, painting, cleaning, all that things. And you also learning quicker. That means also changing the way you're teaching, because with VR comes also a new way of individualize the training, tracking each of the students, being able also to let them do something and make mistakes. You don't care, and then by mistakes they will learn how to improve. So it's what we call reverse pedagogy, and that is really faster than the traditional techniques. In this kind of trade, you can divide by 10 the cost and the time of the training. And then there's some other training that are more, it's more a matter of safety. Some training, you're not saving cost, you're not saving time that much, but you're making people more efficient, safer, and the quality of the production, and so the image of the company is improved.
So you mentioned earlier that you are even more focused in a virtual environment than you are in a real environment. Do you know the psychology behind that? Because is it just because we're in the real world every day, and so we take it for granted and we just get lax? And whereas in a virtual world, we're just more, I don't know, locked in. What is the reason that we can, in a sense, train more efficiently because we're more focused?
No, it's there. It has been studied seriously. There are several studies that I'm happy to share with the audience later. Also, one is from Japan, another one from Canada. I think there's one also in the US that has been done. And basically, it's really it's really a biological principle. It's just because you have two screen that are really, lots of light in front of your eyes. Like the screen is like 2 centimeters away from your eye. So you really focus on the image that is, you can imagine if you are in front of your TV set and you're really moving close to your TV set, you will be into the image and very focused, because the image is active. So it's like small beams of light that goes in your eyes. So that's why you are really focused on that, and the fact, of course, that nothing will disturb you. You are completely into that world, so you jump into it, and there's something interesting if you're staying longer than 10 minutes, 15 minutes in the headset. Once you get used, you can spend half an hour, sometimes an hour in your headset. When you remove the headset, you have kind of the same sensation that you're jumping into another world, but it's a real world. Just to say how much you are uh, into this VR world.
So while you're doing the training, you're wearing the visor and headphones, and
Yeah.
then holding a couple of just joystick type things, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, it's dedicated hardware. Usually, before you were using, well, the basic solution is to use your headphone in front of your eyes, but it's very limited. You just see video and all that things with it. But you have dedicated hardware provided by company that are focused on that. So it's a headset, all integrated in the headset. You have a kind of big visor with the screen. Computer is in it, also connected to internet, and two joysticks. And with that, we can make you do whatever we want.
We are talking with Laurent Da Dalto. He is the CEO of Mimbus, and I have to ask, this all sounds really brilliant, but any startup has that moment where they have to convince the industry to adopt. Did you have any, I don't know, old school trainers at these schools that had to be convinced, and how did you overcome that?
That's the key. That really the barrier of this technology today is that it's a real revolution in the way you're teaching. So for an instructor, especially for an instructor that is used to teach based on his skill, it's very complicated to switch because we ask him to. Well, he may have been a good welder for 20 years, and it's good because he has this expertise. So it's an added value. And in real life, in the welding in cabin, it's essential that he has this skill. But for education, we need him to become a guide and more pedagogist, I would say. So someone that will get the data out from the VR, like an LMS. The VR will provide a lot of information about the skills for each individual. So it will say the precision of the motion, the speed, the whatever. And he will have to go through that. And depending on the student, he will be the one that will unlock these things. So you see, it's quite different from the usual way he's doing today. So the barrier we have is that we need to train the instructor, the PD of these people, the professional development of these people is really the key, and that's why I'm always saying to my client, I told them, don't buy any VR headset, don't buy our solution if you're not ready to train your team. Training is essential. So once they have been trained, it's all right. But we have that regularly. We have the cases of school or teachers that say, no, come on, I'm a teacher, so I know how it works. I just buy a smart board and I know how to use a smart board. So I will use a VR headset the same way. It's all right. And that's what makes the adoption of the technology today a little bit more complicated.
Sure, you probably get a lot less resistance on the student side. They'll just accept what you hand them. And also, virtual reality is more a part of their world. But yeah, the instructor 20, 25 years into the career, probably more of an adjustment. Have you seen turnarounds where instructors were initially reluctant are really valuing the granular data that they're able to get about student skills and their kind of learning curve and the ability to customize the training to the students' needs?
Yeah, totally. I mean, every time we have been able to train them, so it's really about that. It's a one or zero most of the time, I would say. You can have open-minded instructor that will find their way by their own, and then they can have limited training. But most of the time, once we and most of the training is about reassuring them. If you think about it, it's mostly showing them what the technology is doing for them, thinking that it would be an assistant for them and not something that try to replicate his skill and steal his knowledge. So it's really it's yeah, it's a process, but when the people, the instructor has been through that process, I never. It's very rare that they will stay on their position. Usually, they think, okay, it's all right. It's a new tool, save me time because I have more and more people to educate and also attract people also to my trade because it's very difficult to make them believe that my trade is nice. So that tool is efficient for me.
The skilled trades just in the past generation have evolved so much. I mean, they involve so much more technology just even in the field on the job. Is there a particular way that your type of training prepares skilled tradespeople for the real world more than traditional training?
Yeah, that's something essential that we can bring because, as you understand, once you put the headset on, everything is virtual around you. So that means it's quite easy. If I want to change a building, if I want to add a new process in it, it's just programming. It's even with the AI today, it will be quicker to do that. So we can easily integrate a digital solution for, and that's what we're doing. We did that recently for agriculture, for instance. There's more and more digital tool in agriculture, and most of the time the schools are really limited because they invested already into hardware, into workshop, whatever. And so it's very tough for them to get the latest technology and train the student on that. So in VR, we can easily create something in a few months for a few dollars. It's not really expensive, but and integrate not only the tool but also the way to use that technology, the process, and all that things. And teach the student that way. And today there's more and more things like that where schools has a tendency, especially in emerging countries, to become more and more virtual, working with actual industry beside, kind of an internship where a student can go to the field, to the workshop of the company, working there, and at the school they will do most of the things in virtual reality. So for the school, it's cheaper, but they will still keep this skill about teaching and learning.
Do you see this getting earlier and earlier? So instead of getting kids in secondary, high school, getting them even earlier into late elementary or middle schools, kind of exposing them to trades through this kind of virtual, almost game-like environment that they know? Is that going to be a way to recruit? Because in the United States, we are talking so much about, for every four skilled tradespeople that are retiring, there's only one entering. We're going to have this huge and growing gap unless we somehow intervene and get more people into the skilled trades where, there are fantastic, well-paying, stable careers waiting for them. Is this a way to bring the exposure younger?
That's really the key today. That's really the main issue of, and you saying in the US, it works everywhere. I can tell you globally, that's a problem. It comes back to what I was saying before. And we still have this mentality as parents, mostly it's educating parent too, to say that the only way, the golden way is the academic way. And kids need to be aware. So we're working a lot. We're working with uh, as early as possible, I would say, we need to make kids aware of this kind of job, like trades, and also aware that it's not bad, it's not dirty, it's not dangerous that much. It changed a lot with the new technology, with the digital solution, and all that things. And as you said, it's very well paid. So now kids looking for their freedom. They want to, be independent and all that things. So when they will know the salary of a welder or the salary of I don't know, a plumber and all that thing, they may think different and fight against the decision of their parents. So it's really a key. There are some constraints yet. There's some, for instance, consideration about the minimum age to wear a VR headset because, as I said, it's very active in front of your eyes. So some of the manufacturers said that below 12, below 10, it should not be used for kids, at least for a long period. So that's something we need to go through, and we need to evaluate seriously through scientific study if it's how bad it can be, and avoid this kind of risk. But if it's all right, I would say elementary is a good time to uncover this kind of hands-on things, and then middle school, at the time where you have to decide what you will do as your first job. I think it's essential. And it works also all the way. I mean, all your life for people that want to change a job. It's good also to have this vision and be able to embrace different kind of career. So yeah, really, all the investment today I can see, especially in the US, is in the career exploration. So there's lots of funding to make that visible, and we are in this stream.
So you're not my words, yours. You're saying you were kind of a coding geek early on. So what is your pitch to the gamers who might be listening to this, who really think of themselves in a digital space? What's your pitch that the place they're at is a path to a career in the skilled trades?
Well, I'm still a geek, and I'm still in a position where I'm creating games for skill trades, but I'm not an actual welder, an actual painter, or whatever. No, I think that the skill they developed, it's really, and still the case today. There's a barrier between the games industry in general, and the trades, and the industry. But we're talking about it's e-sport today. There's an e-sport competition, and what is e-sport? It's basically playing video game and competing with others. And whether you're developing, what are your skill, precision, reaction, vision. So this kind of skills can be used also for trades. So I would say it's really at their own pace, but I know that. I mean, it's my feeling, but I know that you can spend your life in front of a computer, being a game designer or whatever. At certain time, you will need to feel the real stuff, and it's good to know that the skills you developed can align with a real job, and you will feel it once you will try it. So I will tell them, try out Mimbus solution, go on the marketplace of your preferred VR headset and download our content just to play with it and see how good you can be at that, and maybe it will create a passion for you for a trade at a job.
Well, you talk about, as the CEO of Mimbus, and you're talking about this as a real world application with real human beings. What beyond the technology, what is exciting you right now about the impact that your product and your company is having on real people and their lives and their careers?
That's the thing that made me work every day, really, in this company. It the impact we can have. Um, there's a huge impact on inclusion that we demonstrated, and inclusion at all level. It can be gender issue because there's a lot of male in these jobs and not enough female, unfortunately. And most of those jobs now that are modern job, they can, there's no gender issue. Anybody can do it. So it can be gender, it can be social impact. The fact that there's a lot of people that are far away from this kind of things, and a community that can get access to these basic skills through this kind of technology, they evolved. We have a partnership here in Chicago with the Greater West Town project that is a social impact training center that work with young people in prison, and young and community of young people also that are socially disabled. And they're using extensively our solution to attract kids, train them as quick as possible, and provide them a job in that skills, in that trades. We have Same kind of approach in Pakistan for people disabled. We're training people in Ukraine to rebuild the country. We're training in Lebanon for food safety because they don't have electricity most of the time. So that's a way to save them for intoxication or things like that. So that kind of project, social impact, but high social impact, really, that make the difference between before and now is really something that makes all the team at Mimbus work.
Yeah, must make you real proud. Is there any particular story? I mean, we're talking about broadly and at a national, international level. Tell me a story of one person who you think you had a real impact on their path.
But yeah, that was funny because I was thinking of something initially before the interview, and now something else comes to me that is even better. I used we working for a company in an association in Europe that is in charge of autism and disabled people that has that cannot integrate easily into school. So they have special schools, special ed schools. So once I was attending a session with those people, and there was someone that was from Sudan or something like that, a war zone, and the kids came with his family in Europe, and the kids need to be trained. He's in elementary school, and he was not talking. He was not talking at all. He was not talking his language. He was not talking English, French. He was not talking at all. And we put him in the headset, showing what he's doing, what he has to do, and so on. And he was immediately fluent. He was, native, playing around and all that things. And we did a few sessions, and after a few sessions, he started to talk because he felt more confident, inside the VR headset. Nobody judging him. He was less afraid. And thanks to that, he began to talk, but he began to talk in the real life with his parent and all that thing. So that's amazing emotion for us.
Holy cow. How do you not feel good about that? What a story. And you're having that impact all over the place, all over the world.
Yeah.
This has been a fascinating conversation. Tell our audience how you said that they can actually go to Mimbus and download and play if they have headsets. Tell me first of all how they can access some of your kind of free or test content. What would that look like? What equipment do they need to have to play around with some of what you have online?
Yes, today the best way to try out what we have is to most of the people here they're using the product is mostly Meta headsets or Meta Quest 2 or 3. That's the model. There's also Pico Neo 4, so that's the kind of brand of VR headset that you can buy anywhere. And Meta is widely used for VR game. So there's a marketplace for all those VR headsets. If you type Mimbus and you search for members on the marketplace, you will find several content. And I would advise the auditor to go on Mimbus Discover, which is the career exploration solution. You can download Mimbus Discover and you can play for free to 2 of these activities. I think it's car mechanics and construction site safety. We have more than 20 different contents, but for free, you can play to that as much as you want. And of course, you can go on our website at mimbus.com to see more content we are providing.
All right. How about socials? Do you have social content that we can follow along with?
Yeah, sure. You can follow members on social networks. So we are on LinkedIn, we are on Instagram, we are Facebook also. But I think most of the news are coming from Instagram and LinkedIn.
And you're on the cutting edge, so I can't end without asking. What's next? What's the next big thing?
Well, Everybody's talking about AI, so I need to talk. I need to mention that AI is changing also the way we creating content. We have more and more AI agents that helps in career counselor, in working as a worker beside you and helping you or evaluating you while you're working. So we're moving also to the multiplayer feature. So like in a video game, you have now a lot of multiplayer games, but all content now is more and more multiplayer. So you can, that's very nice for a teacher and even for a student, because you can connect from different places in the US. You can have a teacher that would be in Chicago and all the students may be in New York, but it will work and they will meet together in a warehouse, for instance, to manage the tractor coming in and out. So that combined with AI will make the content more and more powerful and will really give the next step, really powerful content. One thing I need to mention also to end up that expectation of the future is that the technology is growing also. The hardware is cheaper and cheaper, smaller and smaller. It will probably come to glasses at the end and cheap. So when this content will be at home as a consumer, that will make a big difference, because you can imagine your kid today, they go on TikTok and they see video of something and they are attracted and learning through TikTok or Instagram or whatever. Tomorrow they will be able to at home try a job, try trade, and they will come to the parents from home and say, "Oh, I'm interested by that. I see that there's a training there. Can you please help me to go that way?" So it will completely change the way the training for skilled trades will be done in the future.
Well, Laurent Da Dalto, CEO of Mimbus, thanks for all you're doing to encourage early adoption, early exposure to the skilled trades, and making that training just so much more efficient and getting the gamers on board. Why not?
Thank you, Jimmy.
Gaming builds precision, it builds resilience and problem solving. Simulation turns those skills into real world ability, and the trades turn that ability into meaningful, rewarding careers. Laurent and Mimbus are helping shape how the next generation learns and prepares for what comes next. If you think gaming is just play, well, think again. This is Skilled Nation. Way of life, badge of honor.